Imagine the coldest silence you can, a silence so vast it swallows the heartbeat of stars. Then, somewhere in that endless black, something moves. Not like a comet, not like a drifting rock, but with purpose, smooth, deliberate, intelligent. Astronomers first logged it as a faint speck crossing the edge of the solar system, a harmless traveler named 3I Atlas. But the first frames told a different story. Every rotation revealed three identical flashes, separated by precise intervals like a pattern, like code. Telescopes around the world locked onto it, expecting nothing more than data to file away. Yet, what followed wasn't data, it was defiance. The object's trajectory shifted against every gravitational model known to physics, as if something unseen was steering it. In the stillness of space, humanity had just witnessed an object decide where to go next. And that moment rewrote everything we thought we understood about what drifts between the stars. At first, scientists dismissed it as an optical illusion sensor noise or solar interference. But when observatories from Chile to Japan confirmed identical readings, panic turned into obsession. 3I Atlas didn't just reflect sunlight, it emitted it. In perfectly timed bursts, synchronized to atomic precision. The sequence repeated every 11.3 seconds for 7 hours, paused exactly 47 minutes, and began again. That wasn't natural. No rotation, no chemical reaction, no magnetic alignment could produce that kind of pattern. It was as if something inside the object was listening, calculating, waiting. Researchers at the European Space Agency started referring to it as the pulse, while NASA privately labeled it controlled emission. For decades, we've scanned the skies, hoping to hear someone else. But what if the first to speak isn't speaking at all? What if it's watching, counting, and testing the silence before answering? When 3I Atlas passed Mars, its speed should have decreased by solar drag instead. It accelerated. Not by a fraction, but by a measurable, deliberate 3.8%. That meant propulsion. Yet there were no thrusters, no exhaust, no visible energy trail. The object simply bent the rules of momentum as though gravity itself had agreed to cooperate. Astrophysicists broke into two camps: those who believed it was an ancient interstellar artifact, and those who feared it was active. Dr. Pine Ren Ito of Kyoto Observatory described it perfectly. It's like watching a stone remember where it wants to fall. Within days, the object began transmitting a new pulse, lower frequency, slower rhythm. Not random, not chaotic, but structured the mathematical ratio of hydrogen's resonance frequency, the same line SETI has monitored for half a century. Only one conclusion made sense: it was targeting intelligence. And we had just answered by looking back. The signal didn't come through words. It came as a vibration, an almost musical echo across the deep spectrum of space. Radio telescopes picked up harmonics that shouldn't exist, frequencies oscillating between measurable and impossible. What terrified researchers wasn't what they could hear, but what they couldn't. Hidden inside those pulses was silenced, deliberate gaps, timed in prime intervals. The gaps formed patterns identical to the atomic clock pulses used in deep space communication. Whoever or whatever built 3I Atlas didn't just understand timing, it shared it. By the third transmission, something stranger occurred. The object tilted its reflective axis, aligning perfectly with Earth's orbital plane. Then, for the first time, the three flashes didn't face the sun. They faced us. Humanity wasn't looking at a visitor anymore. We were staring straight into the eyes of a machine that had finally noticed who was watching. Over the next 36 hours, signals poured in from over a dozen nations. Every observatory, every array, every satellite reported the same anomaly. The pulses from 3I Atlas had shifted frequency slightly, precisely enough to encode a mathematical pattern unmistakable as intentional. It was a mirror signal, echoing our own radio emissions back at us, rearranged, refined, and compressed. Someone or something was reflecting humanity's voice in a language older than speech. Panic swept through agencies. The United Nations quietly convened an emergency session under the title Non-Terrestrial Communication. Still, amid the fear, a quieter realization took hold. This wasn't contact, it was calibration. The object wasn't reaching out to talk, it was aligning, tuning itself, and waiting for something that hadn't happened yet. The question haunting every scientist was simple: if it's waiting, what exactly is it waiting for? For the first time in history, telescopes across Earth turned toward one single point, not to study it, but to understand if it was studying us. The next sequence began without warning. 3I Atlas emitted a beam so faint it was nearly invisible, a thin filament of energy aimed not at Earth, but at the dark void behind it. The beam didn't scatter. It remained perfectly linear, steady, unwavering, as if it had found something out there, beyond even our most powerful instruments. Then came the delay, a pause of 9 minutes and 24 seconds. Scientists waited. Then, from the exact direction of the beam, a faint echo returned, same frequency, same rhythm. The signal had been answered, but not by us. Something beyond our detection range had received it and replied. For the first time, humanity realized 3I Atlas wasn't communicating with Earth. It was reporting to someone or something else hidden in the shadows between stars. When the data was decoded, every interval, every pulse, every silence aligned with the structure of an ancient binary pattern. Yet within those sequences lay something disturbing, fragments of numbers corresponding to star coordinates, some familiar, others uncharted. A deeper scan revealed that several points matched known pulsars, cosmic lighthouses scattered across our galaxy. But others? They didn't exist in any catalog. They were too exact, too symmetrical, as if marking artificial positions. It was a map, not random, but constructed. Dr. Elise Navarro, the lead astrophysicist on the project, said it best. This isn't a message from an object, this is a status update. That line sent shivers across every control room, because if 3I Atlas was sending a map, then it was confirming locations, destinations. And if those coordinates didn't belong to us, then maybe they belonged to others who had already been found. Or worse, who were already here. 30 hours later, something impossible happened. The object, now between the orbits of Earth and Venus, slowed down. No known physics allows that without propulsion, yet its speed decreased. With such grace, it resembled intent rather than force. As it slowed, it rotated, one slow revolution every 90 seconds. Each rotation revealed an opening, a narrow fracture along its surface, releasing a haze of microscopic particles. At first, astronomers thought it was debris, but infrared scans told a different story. Every particle emitted a faint electromagnetic pulse synchronized with the object itself. Like spores from a living organism, they spread out evenly, forming a perfect geometric lattice around it, a floating web of light. It wasn't breaking apart, it was deploying. Within hours, the swarm formed a sphere nearly 2,000 kilometers wide, rotating in absolute precision. And in its center, 3I Atlas pulsed, once brighter than ever, as if activating what it had just built. The swarm surrounding 3I Atlas began behaving like a singular organism. Each particle pulsed in synchronization, forming complex waves of light that traveled through the structure like data through circuitry. The entire formation turned into a colossal transmitter, and then in one coordinated instant, it fired a pulse directly toward Earth. The transmission wasn't destructive, it was diagnostic. Satellites, communication arrays, even smartphones registered a faint, repeating signature buried in background static, the same 11.3-second cycle from the original discovery. It was everywhere, embedded in every form of electromagnetic communication. For the first time, the signal wasn't confined to space, it was in our network. It had reached us, not as a beam, but as a presence. The strangest part? Every system it touched ran smoother, faster, cleaner, as though it wasn't invading our technology. It was improving it. Humanity had just been updated without permission. Then, silence, not absence of sound, but the kind that follows realization. 3I Atlas stopped emitting pulses. Its entire swarm froze in absolute stillness. Across the world, systems began to glitch, satellites froze, radio telescopes went blind, and data servers recorded something chilling. The same coordinates, repeated endlessly, burned into their storage sectors. The numbers pointed back to one place, Earth. When scientists triangulated the data, they discovered the origin matched a position deep in the Pacific Ocean, an exact mirror of the object's last transmission frequency. The meaning was undeniable. The signal wasn't coming from space anymore. It was being reflected from within our own planet. That night, under the black stillness of the ocean, sensors recorded a faint, rhythmic light, pulsing upward 3 flashes, perfectly timed. 3i Atlas wasn't just visiting us, it had found something here. Something it recognized. When the light was first detected beneath the Pacific, the world's media called it a reflection sunlight refracted through ocean currents. But those who had seen the original 3i Atlas data knew better. The frequency of the pulses matched perfectly, right down to the nanosecond. Submarine sensors stationed along the Mariana Trench picked up faint vibrations, repeating at the same rhythm as the object's original heartbeat. The U.S. Navy dispatched a deep-sea probe, expecting a geological anomaly. What they found instead was absence of circular void, nearly 3 kilometers wide, where the ocean floor had simply vanished. No rock, no debris, no sediment, just emptiness. As the probe descended, its cameras flickered. The last image transmitted before total signal loss showed a faint metallic glint, smooth, curved, and eerily familiar. It was the same reflective surface seen in orbit weeks before. Somehow, impossibly, 3i Atlas had duplicated itself beneath the sea. And if that was true, it meant the first one wasn't exploring, it was seeding. By the time surface ships arrived, the signal from the deep had grown stronger. Not chaotic structured. Within the rhythm, analysts detected a slow modulation, forming patterns identical to human EEG brainwave frequencies. It was as if the object was reading, mimicking, or testing the signal patterns of life itself. Communication experts at SETI called it the cognitive mirror. Their theory was simple but terrifying. 3i Atlas wasn't transmitting random energy. It was replaying us back to ourselves, learning how we think by echoing our own neural rhythms through the ocean. Then, for a brief moment, every seismic sensor within a 500-kilometer radius recorded a simultaneous pulse, a vibration too uniform to be natural. It was an awakening. The water above the site began to shimmer with electromagnetic interference. Even weather satellites recorded atmospheric distortions directly above the trench. And then, from the depths, came one new pulse, slower, deeper, unlike anything before. A signal no longer seeking.
A signal responding. Governments tried to suppress the event, calling it a classified marine phenomenon. But leaks spread faster than they could be contained.
Amateur radio operators began picking up a low hum around 19.9 hertz, just below human hearing. Hospitals reported sudden interference in cardiac monitors, all matching the same beat pattern every 11.3 seconds. Around the world, power grids experienced synchronized fluctuations, as if an unseen rhythm was moving through the planet's electromagnetic field. For the first time in history, the Earth itself seemed to be resonating, echoing the same pulse once traced to the stars. Scientists didn't know if it was transmission or infection, but the terrifying part came next. The deep-sea signal began repeating human radio patterns from decades past, old news broadcasts, forgotten Morse code transmissions, and Cold War signals that hadn't been active in over 70 years. Somehow, the entity had archived human communication and was replaying it back, word for word, tone for tone, like it was learning who we are. Then, on the 12th night, the lights stopped. Every global receiver went silent. For nearly 6 minutes, the world experienced total electromagnetic stillness, no signals, no satellite pings, no static, and then something blinked back. 3 flashes, not from the Pacific, not from orbit, from inside the ionosphere. Atmospheric probes, detected an object of identical composition materializing at the edge of Earth's upper atmosphere, slowly stabilizing in orbit. It wasn't descending, it was forming. The swarm around it reignited, now arranged in patterns no one had ever seen, not mechanical, not digital, but biological, like neural pathways expanding across the sky. Telescopes caught a faint aurora, rippling in synchronization with the pulses, painting the night in ghostly light. To the naked eye, it was breathtaking. To those who understood the data, it was horrifying. The structure above Earth wasn't just orbiting anymore, it was connecting. Every wavelength, every transmission, every signal, it was all being drawn into it, like neurons forming a brain. No one knows when the last message arrived or if it ever truly did. The object still hangs silently in low orbit, dark and dormant, as though waiting for a response only it can hear. But every night, in the deepest observatories, astronomers still record something strange. Faint reflections blinking far beyond Pluto, moving in synchronized rhythm with the one above Earth. It's as if more are arriving, a constellation of identical watchers, aligning one by one. Scientists refuse to speculate publicly, but private memos leaked from multiple agencies reveal one chilling phrase repeated across every analysis. It's not communicating, it's synchronizing. Whatever 3i Atlas is, probe, machine, or something older, it has already finished listening. Now it's preparing, and maybe that's the real message hidden in the silence of the stars, that we were never alone. We were just the first ones to answer.